It has been 28 years since Himmel passed away, and we see Frieren and her party traveling in an area with a very strong blizzard. Frieren said it seems like they're lost. She remarked that it's not funny that they got lost, especially since they haven't even reached the Frieren Mountains yet. We also see that Stark has fainted due to the cold, so Fern forcefully tries to wake him up, knowing that he could die if he sleeps there. Stark is delirious and asked Fern if the jumbo berry specials are really that small, to which Fern replied that she doesn't know. Frieren thought if they could carry Stark using magic, but due to the intensity of the blizzard, Stark might just be blown away, so Fern just supports him instead. Fern found him heavy, and while she was assisting him, Stark mentioned that she had a sweet aroma. This prompted Fern to jokingly ask if it would be okay to just leave him there. "Just bear with it for now," Frieren said, as she believes there's a cabin nearby at the foot of the mountains where they can rest. However, she was asked if she was sure about that, given that her last knowledge of it was from 80 years ago. They continued walking until they saw the cabin. Thankfully, the cabin was still there, and it seemed to be regularly maintained. However, Fern felt a presence and wondered if someone was inside. Frieren proceeded to open the door anyway, fearing they might freeze if they didn't. Upon entering, they saw a male elf working and exclaiming, "Great, I'm warming up." Frieren went in, but Fern immediately pulled her out and closed the door. She said that the place wasn't safe and they should find somewhere else to stay. Frieren was puzzled and asked why, to which Fern replied that there was a pervert inside. A few moments later, the man came out of the cabin, disturbed upon hearing himself called a pervert. Fern hurriedly pulled Frieren, but the man stopped them, asking if Frieren was an elf. After that, we see them inside the cabin, with the man saying it might be the first time he's seen another elf like him in 300 years. He thought elves might have become extinct, to which Frieren responded, "Me too." The man also thanked them for the fire, saying he felt blessed to have encountered mages. He believed this to be a sign from the goddess. He mentioned he had reached there by hiking through the Frieren Mountains, but he had lost his charcoal due to a blizzard. He had survived the cold by squatting and working out. He introduced himself to them as Kraft, a monk. After that, Frieren and Fern introduced themselves by name. Kraft was astonished when he found out they were headed to Oriol, where souls rest. He said they must have a strong devotion to journey towards heaven, to which Frieren said she was only half devoted. Fern noticed Stark's temperature rising. After a moment, we see Stark's thoughts. He felt warm and comfy and wondered what had happened to him, thinking he was in a blizzard. But when he opened his eyes, he found Kraft lying next to him, shirtless, which startled him and he shouted, asking who the old man was. Frieren was disturbed by the noise. Kraft said, "After all the trouble I went through to warm you with my body, is that the attitude you give me?" Stark reflected and commented on the good physique of Kraft. Fern became slightly concerned, thinking Stark might be implying something, but Stark clarified that he was just commenting on Kraft's well-trained body and inquired about his name. Kraft introduced himself again, but Stark said he wasn't familiar with his name, although he felt Kraft might be a famous monk. Kraft just smiled. After a while, he asked Frieren and Fern to accompany him outside to get some food while he let Stark rest. They visited Kraft's cart where they found his frozen food supplies. Kraft expressed great gratitude, as now with the mages present, they could thaw and eat the frozen food. Frieren mentioned it would be risky to continue their journey in such weather, so it seems they will stay in the cabin for some time. On their way back, Kraft asked if Frieren knows him. Frieren replied that she didn't. Kraft responded in kind, saying he also didn't know who Frieren was. Fern mentioned that Frieren was the mage of the hero party, to which Kraft quickly replied, "And before?" Both Fern and Frieren paused at his question, asking him what's he implying. Kraft just replied that we are elves. These panels hold deep meaning, emphasizing the long lives of elves and how it's not uncommon for them to have many noteworthy achievements. They returned to the cabin and had a meal together. Days passed quickly, showing us various activities they undertook while waiting for better weather. Eventually, the blizzard stopped, but we learned that almost half a year had passed. Kraft thanked them, saying that thanks to them, they survived the long winter of the northern countries. A quick note, perhaps the author is a fan of Game of Thrones. He gave Fern a necklace, saying it suited her due to her strong devotion. He speculated that being raised by a priest might be why she always remembered to thank the goddess. Frieren asked Kraft why he believed in the goddess. Kraft asked her if she didn't. Frieren replied, apart from the mythical times, the goddess of creation has never shown herself throughout the long history of the world. Kraft speculated that perhaps Frieren was still a young elf, as he had similar beliefs when he was younger. Now, he believes in the goddess wholeheartedly. He added that if the goddess didn't exist, he'd be in trouble as all who knew of his great accomplishments are long gone. He hoped to be honored in heaven and be told he lived a glorious life. Kraft told Frieren he understood how sad it feels when no one remembers the marks we leave behind in life, especially given their long elven lifespans. Frieren replied that it's a common wish among elves. Kraft added that heaven probably felt the same. Frieren fell silent until Kraft encouraged her to share her story. He said if she didn't believe in the goddess, he'd honor her when she reached heaven. Frieren had a flashback where she talked to Hyder in an orphanage. She couldn't believe Hyder funded the reconstruction of the orphanage for that village. Hyder mentioned he also came from an orphanage and believed the goddess would honor his pure and righteous life. Frieren responded, "Aren't you embarrassed by what you're saying while you're drinking? You corrupt priest." He then asked if someone would honor Frieren. She was taken aback. "You said that you don't believe in the goddess. If you tell me about your life, I will honor you in her place. I've just lived a leisurely life up until now. I haven't done anything worthy to be honored. But haven't you constantly limited your mana? That seems like a result of your efforts too. You notice that? We've been traveling together for many years. But that's not an interesting story." Hyder responded that he doesn't mind. Maybe it will be useful in the future. "How so?" Frieren asked. To which Hyder responded, "Who knows, maybe my child will become a mage." Frieren then said, "Aren't priests supposed to remain single their whole life?" To which Hyder laughed. We return to the present, and Frieren asked Kraft why there were so many weird followers of the goddess. She declined his offer of honor, mentioning someone had already promised her that. Kraft responded, saying she has good friends and should cherish them. Frieren wanted to say that person was already dead, but paused a bit and just mentioned that he was in heaven now. Kraft said they'd probably meet there, to which Frieren agreed. The time came for them to part ways. Kraft told Frieren he didn't believe this was their last goodbye. He was certain they'd meet again, even if hundreds of years passed. And they continued on their journey. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe.